Hello, hello, hello! Greetings, everybody! Welcome to another episode of Break Time with Hobs, where it's a show where you guys get to hang out with me and I just talk about whatever is the topic of the day. And today's topic is Kidou Senshi Gundammu. So we're talking about Mobile Suit Gundam. So I just want to put a warning, disclaimer to any hardcore fans who stumble upon these videos, and I know that I have some friends and people that are hardcore Gundam fans, especially hardcore UC elitist. I do follow Gundam. I do follow Gundam content, but I'm not a hardcore consumer of every Gundam media, so there are gonna be a lot of things that I left out or not mentioned. Even though I'm gonna talk about like the OG Gundam, Zeta Gundam, Double Zeta, I won't be able to talk about everything because, to be honest, I never watched a single episode. I mean, I did watch the first episode of 1979 Gundam, but I just basically only know the general lore based on the video games and the wikis. So forgive me that if I disappoint you guys if I don't mention specific details or information or narrative points. So Gundam. Oh, so fun little fact about Gundam is that even though it's not my first anime, it is the anime franchise that made me delve into anime culture as a whole. And the way how I discovered Gundam, I mean, Gundam has always been popular back then when I was young. Because in Thailand, Gundam has a fan base, and my classmates always like talk about Gundam, and I can't relate because at the time I don't really watch it. I'm not a hardcore weeb. Yeah, here's the thing, Thailand. There's a lot. Thailand has like a weeb culture. Like, if you don't watch anime, you're not cool. Like, if you're in elementary and you've never seen any anime, you don't watch anime like Pokemon, Digimon, or whatever is available on TV, you're not cool. And so, I'm not cool because, at the time I only watched like Cartoon Network and shit. So, I've heard about Gundam when I was younger, and I only got into Gundam until like the start or at least second year of my high school. Actually, I was like interested and curious to get into Gundam, and how I first got into Gundam was actually a Facebook game, which is no longer active. I think the game shuts down, and I think it's like the server's kind of closed. So that game introduced me to Gundam as a whole. It's barely a game. It's mostly just like there's barely any gameplay. You just like go to different levels, and your mobile suits would just automatically fight. It's one of those it's one of those browser online games, and it's meh. But it does introduce me to like every single mobile suit from the UC and AU timelines, and I'm like so obsessed with robot designs because I'm a kid. I was a kid at the time who's just obsessed with cool designs. So at that time Gundam really stood out to me, and I wanted to try watching a Gundam show. So I tried searching on YouTube because yes, at that time there was a time period on YouTube where people were able to watch TV shows and anime shows illegally on YouTube before the whole copyright strikes. But yeah, I tried to find Gundam on YouTube, and luckily for me, I found a Gundam show that was officially and legally available on YouTube by Sunrise. And my very first Gundam show was Gundam Build Fighters. I know most people won't really consider that as a proper Gundam show because this is more or less a show about Gunpla, where where Gundam is mostly a fictional thing, and people are just playing Gunpla battles where they just build plastic Gunpla models just to fight it out like Beyblade. There's no stakes, there's no political conflicts, there's no like wars, and there's like no wars bad message. It's just like pure fun. It's just pure crazy fun and actually awesome shonen fight scenes. it's quite a spectacle. I fucking love build fighters. So yeah, that was my first Gundam. Even though it's not a proper Gundam show, I had a very fun time, and that made me want to delve more into Gundam. So my second Gundam show was Gundam Build Fighters Try. I have not touched an actual Gundam show just yet. So at that time, but at that time, I did try to explore Gundam media. But I was only like exclusively in the build stuff, but I never really touched like actual Gundam content. And the way how I got into like the lore and lore of different franchises, like my only exposure to like the lore and like and to the actual main Gundam series is just through video games. I watch cutscenes of Dynasty Warriors and whatnot, and that's how I got familiar with characters like Amuro Ray or Camille Bidan and Char Aznavour. And the many conflicts that takes place in the UC timeline, as well as of course, Kira Yamato, Setsuna, and their respective events. So yeah, and it's through those like side media content like the video games and shit, especially, and not to mention also in the build stuff, because build stuff also has like references to other TV shows. So it made me curious to try Gundam Seed. Because while I was just taking a peek on other Gundam content through video games and through the build series, Gundam Seed stands out to me. I think it's also because the main mobile suit, the main gunpla in Gundam Build Fighters was based on the strike, so I had like a strong bias towards the strike. So it really pulled me into the Seed series, and I got bored. I gave up on my first Gundam series. Like, I only like watched like 7 episodes, and I don't know. Like, even though it's like from the early 2000s, the animation was meh. I mean, it's cool sometimes, but it could be like I don't know. I do heard like one of the main criticisms of Seed is not just the art stuff, but also the fact that they reuse animations. That they're just lazy and shit, and not to mention the bad writing. So I think that's also the factor. Like, knowing about bad writing also factors into why I also stopped. Not to mention like the melodrama at that time really does not interest me, because at that time when I was watching Gundam Seed, I was just there for the cool mech action and mech designs, and I don't know, I just didn't like Kira. I just didn't like Kira and the whole drama bullshit he gets into. So, I just skipped Seed entirely. I do follow the entire Seed story. I do get to know the whole Seed storyline through Super Robot Wars J. So I'm not out of the blue. I do know what happened in Seed. I just didn't watch the anime. But honestly, my first proper Gundam show that I finished from start to finish was Gundam 00. And I don't know, man. I loved it. I like it. I like the characters. I like the mobile suit design. I fucking love the Exia. I just didn't know what was happening, because I was able to follow season 1, but season 2 with the whole innovators and shit, it just lost me. it just fucking lost me. I was like, what's going on? I think at that time it's when like I got first exposed to the whole like space magic new type bullshit that became very common in a lot of Gundam series. Oh yeah, now that I think about it, Seed and Build Fighters isn't really my first Gundam show. I remember something. Yeah, I just remembered something. It was way back when I was way younger that I actually saw several episodes of G Gundam. Yeah, I've seen G Gundam when I was a kid. Yeah, I just didn't remember because I was so young. G Gundam is fun. It's a bit weird, but it's fun. I do like how it really steps out from the formula. Instead of being like a real robot political war conflict, it's just Dragon Ball Z, shonen Dragon Ball action. But I heard it's good. Like, even though I only vaguely remember what happens in it because I was just a kid, I still think it's a fun watch. I do watch like some clips of G Gundam. Another Gundam show I tried to watch was. Yeah, wait, let me check my list. So I've seen Seed, I've seen Double O, I've seen all the Build Fighter shows. Yeah, I actually follow all the Build Fighter shows, especially Build Divers. I fucking don't like the first Build Divers, man. Gundam Build Divers sucks. But Gundam Build Divers Re-Rise, that shit was the bomb. You guys, I highly recommend for those who are like in the Gundam community, if you don't like it, who basically dropped the Build series right after Build Divers, give Re-Rise a chance, because that shit is good. It's some good shit. It's Gundam MMO plus Isekai. Literal Isekai. Because he actually got sent to another world, and there's actual stakes now. Okay, so what else have I also... Oh yeah. Another show I attempted to watch while it was airing was Gundam Jireko. And I actually watched start to finish. Actually, I didn't I didn't watch everything. I skipped a few episodes because, to be honest, that show, I had no idea what was happening. I think Tomino was really drunk that time, because I don't know, it was weird, but I managed to watch from start to finish, but without having any idea on what I just watched. I do like the mobile suit design though. Actually, G-Self is actually one of my favorite Gundam designs. Like when we're talking about modern like 2000s Gundam designs, my top three will definitely be the top three will be the G-Self, the Exia, and the Strike. Oh yeah, well, speaking of modern 2000s Gundam, or rather post 2010 Gundams, like, because after Jireko, I also started watching, actually not right after, but it took me several years to get into Gundam Iron-Blooded Orphans. And yeah, I actually really enjoy that. I actually really enjoy it, like both seasons. I just realized that I have not mentioned or talked about a single UC content, because I feel like that's a grave sin as a Gundam fan, because if you're a Gundam fan, you also gotta talk about UC Gundam. Oh man. As I mentioned before, I did not watch like the OG Gundam. I have not watched Zeta, I have not watched Double Zeta, but I am familiar with the lore and the events that takes place, such as the 1 Year War, the Griff's conflict, the first Neo-Zeon War, and the second Neo-Zeon War. Actually, the only thing I've watched from the main flagship series is Char's Counterattack. I actually really love Char's Counterattack. Stellar animation for its time, and it really concludes the conflict between Amuro and Char. Really, really beautiful. I mean, really beautiful, but I have no idea what the whole Psycho Frame bullshit was all about. It just... every time the whole like new type space magic bullshit happens, I'm just like, you know what, let me just roll with it. I don't need a scientific explanation, even though Gundam is a hard sci-fi fantasy true, but hard sci-fi show where they put so much details into the mechanical lore and development of each mobile suit and the explanation of its sciencey technology, especially GN drives, but I still have zero fucking idea how Psycho Frames fucking work. Because especially in like Gundam Unicorn, Psycho Frames can do like crazy shit. It can like rewrite reality, time travel, manipulate shit. Like it's just weird. It just turns Gundam into an actual god. But actually, the one thing that I like about UC, aside from like the lore and shit, are the mechanical designs of the mobile suits. And dear lord, I really like the full armor Gundam from Thunderbolt and the Gundam Crown types. Like, out of all the mobile suits from the UC era, I fucking love the full armor Gundam and the Gundam ground type. There's just something to me that just makes me find appealing in machines that actually looks like machines. Like I like those designs more so than the Freedom and the Double O and Quanta. Like, sure, those suits looks cool and sleek and all, but I don't know. I just love the bulky and very mechanical looking shit. I love how messy and how I love how every design of their body has a purpose for their specific environment that they're meant to be deployed at. Like the Gundam ground type is meant to be obviously be deployed on ground missions on Earth, and the Gundam Full Armor Gundam is meant for like the, what's it called again? I'm trying to remember because it's been a while since I've seen. Again, I might sound like a heretic. I didn't really watch Gundam Thunderbolt, but I've watched clips. I've watched clips. I do read like recaps and shit, so I am familiar on the characters and the conflict. But I just like the mobile suits. I'm so sorry. I'm a fake Gundam fan. I'm so sorry. Where was I? I just really like how they look. Okay, I just like how the full armor just looks like a full-on war machine, and I like how it just looks like, even though it's based on the original RX-78-2 Gundam. I don't know. I just love how it looks. I like the colors. I like its equipment. Even though it looks impractical, it does serves its purpose. And for the Gundam ground types, I don't know. I just love the Gundam ground types, even though it's basically a gym with a Gundam design. Actually, I still haven't read on why there's a gym ground type. Because I know that gym ground types are also made from spare parts the same way as the Gundam ground types were. I don't know. I guess I have to reread the lore, or if any of you guys are watching this, can you guys explain to me like what is the development behind the gym ground types? Because I know that the gyms are mass-produced models that were based on the original RX-78-2, and so is the gym ground type the same way based on the Gundam ground type, even though it's made out of spare parts the same way how the Gundam ground types are also spare parts. They're also made by spare parts. I don't know. I'm gonna have to read that, and if you guys know, please explain in the comments. And I don't know. Like if I live in a universal century, I would love to own a Gundam ground type, even though repairs is gonna be annoying because there's really no spare parts. But hey, it's customizable. Like Gundam ground types are usually repaired by random spare parts and junk parts from different mobile suits. So yeah. Another thing I love about Gundam are the games. This year I started playing Gundam Versus Next Generation. I forgot the title. Holy shit! I was playing it on my PSP emulator, and holy shit, I had a lot of fun. But damn, Gundam Versus is fun. I like playing Gundam games. I also play Super Robot Wars. I think Gundam is also the reason why I became a super fan of the Super Robot War franchise. I only played Super Robot Wars J because that's the only game available for me to play on my emulator. But I don't know. Gundam has like a very long-lasting impact in the world of mecha. It is one of the pioneers of real robot genre. It is the reason why we have like stories where in wars and where robots are treated as actual vehicles rather than, a Megazord. No disrespect to like Mazinger Z or Getarobo. Those guys are also the goats. But Gundam, it has a lot of cultural influence both in fiction and in reality. Like in Japan, Gundam is a subject in science and engineering, and there are people who are trying to study and create real-life mobile suits, or at least create the technology that was inspired by Mobile Suit Gundam. And I think that's just cool on how much a fictional franchise, even though it was designed to look like toys, to sell toys, has so much influence in science and engineering in Japan and in pop culture in general. Without Gundam, we wouldn't have things like Pacific Rim. I mean, Pacific Rim, I guess. I mean, I mean, yeah, Pacific Rim is technically real robots, even though it's heavily inspired by the super robot genre, but it is still real robots in a way. We wouldn't have games like Titanfall. Like, come on, real robots are fun. They're one of the coolest ideas to come out, and we wouldn't have mechas in general in sci-fi fiction. And it's all thanks to Gundam. Okay? It's all thanks to Gundam. If we didn't have Gundam, we would just have, you know, super robots just fighting monsters and aliens with superpowers and shit. Because with Gundam, we make fiction feel like reality. And I also love how in the original Gundam, there's a lot of science concepts and theories that were implemented into Gundam. Things like the space colonies and shit and whatnot. I don't know. It's just cool how much you can learn about scientific theories and engineering through Gundam. Even though that in the original Gundam, a lot of the mobile suits from the 1 Year War looks goofy as hell. And I also really encourage those who are new to Gundam to try watching Gundam. Gundam may be dark. Not maybe dark. It is fucking dark. Unless you're watching shows like G Gundam or I guess Double Zeta to some extent. At least the first half of Double Zeta. Gundam will always be a story about war and conflicts. It's not about giant robots. It's not about the cool action pieces, even though you're there for the actual cool action pieces of the giant robots. You're gonna be it's a show that makes you want to be invested in its world building, and it makes you invested into its conflict, the political parties and those involved, and the victims who are part of the war that didn't ask to be part of. It's a franchise with a lot of heavy messages, and I really, if you want like strong, investive stories, I highly encourage you watching a Gundam show. But if you're there for cool action and giant robots, then I highly recommend watching the Build series then. But if you want a beginner-friendly Gundam, because I understand why people don't want to watch Gundam because of how intimidating the entry to the franchise is, because there's so many franchises and there's just so much to understand. And I know that there are not many people who are gonna be who are committed to watch like 50 episodes of a Gundam show, because hey, it's 2023, it's the modern times, anime has changed. People are more comfortable watching 12 episodes per season or 24 per season. Mostly 12, but if you want a beginner-friendly Gundam, I highly recommend Gundam The Witch from Mercury. Mobile Suit Gundam The Witch from Mercury. It's very Gundam. It's new. Not really. What was I trying to say? It is newbie friendly, and it has Yuri. But don't let Bandai tell you otherwise. It's not up to interpretation. Soleta and Mio are married. Okay, fuck off. Anyway, I think that's the end for episode 2 of Break Time with Hobs. I still haven't figured out what I want to do for episode 3, but we'll see eventually. So thank you for hanging out with me today. It's fun talking about Gundam, even though I'm not like a hardcore Gundam aficionado, but I am a Gundam fan. I know some stuff that I know, and I'm still passionate about Gundam, even though I'm not as knowledgeable as some hardcore experts. But I really hope you could appreciate my passion for this franchise. So thank you for listening, and tell me in the comments below on what are your favorite mobile suits and who are your favorite characters from the overall Gundam franchise. I'm curious to know. Anyway, that is all. I'll be signing off right now. Jane.